विष्णुपाद शत शिष्यमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद शत शिष्यमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद शत शिष्यमार भक्ति गोस्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद शत शिष्यमार भक्ति विज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद शत भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोरक्षरस बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट श्रीरंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपनु गौरिया गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ शारद गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंद श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंद श्याम की जय। श्री मुनि देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाय की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम ज्ञानस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। ओम विष्णुपदाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्ति वेदांत नारायणीति नामिने। नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां नेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः। गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यां द्वैपायनो विहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूत हृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं स्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृदन्तस्तु अद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतं। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवैवास्मि तवैवास्मि न जीवना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वयमां चरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीन अपराधलक्षय क्षिप्ताष्टकामा दितरङ्गमदे कृपामयि त्वां शरणं प्रपन्नाय नमस्ते चरणारविन्दं। भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Dandavat Pranams, Rupa Manjari Didi. Thank the link in the group. And Dandavat Pranams, Raseshwari Mataji and Madhavi Didi. Oh, and also Dandavat Pranams to Indira Mataji, who will be watching this later on. All right, so today we'll just be reading the translations, not this. We already read all the Sanskrit yesterday. Let me find in this book. We can read the most important verses though. Let me see. I'm just opening up this book, chapter 12. There's only one verse from the 12th chapter in this book I have here, Bhagavad Ratnamala. So I'll read that verse. All right, let's begin. The killing of the demon Aghāsura. We're reading from Śrīla Cakravartī Ṭhākura's Sārārtha-darśinī. Jai Śrīla Visśvanātha Ṭhākura ki jai. 1 second. Just okay. Shuka Uvach. Wait, I'm not. Verse 1. Deva Goswami continued. O king, one day Krishna decided to take breakfast as a picnic in the forest. Having risen early in the morning, he blew his bugle made of horn and woke all the cowherd boys and calves with its beautiful sound. Then Krishna and the boys, keeping their respective groups of calves behind them, proceeded from Vrajabhumi to the forest. Commentary by Śrīla Visśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura, Sārārtha-darśinī. The 12th chapter describes Krishna's playing friends and their entering the body of the serpent Aghāsura. To save his friends, Krishna also entered the demon and killed him by expanding his body. One day, Kvachit, Krishna decided to enjoy a picnic in the forest, Vanashaya. Only Krishna's name is indicating that Rohini forcefully kept Balaram at home, bathe him, and perform auspicious rites on his birthday. Verse 2. At that time, hundreds and thousands of cowherd boys came out of their respective homes in Vrajabhumi and joined Krishna before them. Keeping before them their hundreds and thousands of groups of calves. The boys were very beautiful, and they were equipped with lunch bags, bugles, flutes, and sticks for controlling the calves. Commentary. Tudathi Prituka refers to the cowherd boys. They were holding sticks, horns, flutes, and lunch bags. Sahasra Pari Sankhya means 10,000. Krishna had a Sankhya number. He had countless numbers of calves. A parardha is followed by 17 zeros. Parardha times a parardha times a parardra times a parardra. So 4 parardras equals 1 asankhya. Oh. Okay. Because sankhya means count and asankhya means countless. It's 1 followed by 17 zeros. How much is 1 followed by 17 zeros? Rup Manjari Didi? Anyways. That's 17.4. Anyway, okay. What's 17 times 4? I'm so bad at math. Okay. One should not argue, however, that such a large number of cows could not possibly fit. Sorry. One should not argue that such a large number of cows could not possibly fit 32 square mile area of Vrindavan, because the Dham is unlimited by the inconceivable energy of the Lord. Even a small portion of the holy Dham is sufficient to accommodate billions of universes, each measuring 50 million miles in diameter. Krishna showed this to Brahma in a later chapter. 50 million miles isn't that long. But anyways, you get the point. The Brihad Bhagavatamrita says that there is no question of impediments, obstacles, or limitations because the Lord, His associates, and His holy Dham have inconceivable power, achintya shakti. Krishna's cowherd boyfriends were ornamented by their mothers with necklace and gunja seed beads before entering the forest. Once in the forest, they ornamented themselves with fruits and flowers. Verse 3. Along with the cowherd boys and their own groups of calves, Krishna came out with an unlimited number of assembled. And all the boys began to sport in the forest in a greatly playful spirit. Verse 4. Although all these boys were already decorated by the mothers with ornaments of kacha, gunja, pearls, and gold, when they went into the forest, they further decorated themselves with fruits, green leaves, bunches of flowers, peacock feathers, and soft minerals. Verse. All the cowherd boys used to steal one another's lunch bags. When a boy came to understand that his bag had been taken away, the other boys would throw it away to a more distant place, and those standing there would throw it still farther. When the proprietor of the bag became disappointed, the other boys would laugh, and then the proprietor would cry, and then the bag would be returned. Commentary. The cowherd boys used to steal each other's articles. One boy would steal another's food container, take it to a distant place, hide it under a tree surrounded by thorn bushes and red ants. When the boy whose lunch bag was stolen tried to retrieve it, other boys would throw it farther away. When he ran after it, they would throw it still farther. He would cry, and the other boys would laugh and return his lunch bag. Verse 6. Sometimes Krishna would go to a somewhat distant place to see the beauty of the forest. Then all the other boys would run to accompany him, each one saying, "I shall be the first to run and touch Krishna. I shall touch Krishna first." In this way, enjoyed life by repeatedly touching Krishna. Commentary. When Krishna wandered off to see the beauty of the distant forest, the boys would run after him, shouting, "I will touch Krishna first. No, I will. No, I will." Verses 7 to 11. That's the name of a gasoline a store I in America. Translation 7-11. All the boys would be differently engaged. Some boys blew their flutes, and there's a beautiful painting by Shamarani Mataji on these group of verses. I think it's the cover for, what's the book? Krishna Lotus. One is Krishna Lord of Sweetness, GBP, and oh no. Actually no. It's what's the book? Nectar of Govinda Leela, maybe. Nectar of Govinda Leela, GVP. Images. Yes, that's a picture, but this is low resolution. I don't know how to do it otherwise, so open tab, so that's not what I wanted to climb. Whatever. Oh god, that's so low res. Anyways, that's the picture. All the boys would be differently aged. Some blew their flutes, others blew bugles made of horn. Some imitated the buzzing of the bumblebees, and others imitated. Some boys imitated flying birds by running after the birds' shadows on the ground. Some initiated the beautiful movements and attractive postures ones. Some sat down with the ducks, sitting silently, and others imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some boys attracted young monkeys. Some jumped into the trees, imitating the monkeys. Some made faces as the monkeys were accustomed to do, and from one branch to another. Some boys went to the waterfalls and crossed over the river, jumping with the frogs. And when they saw their own reflections on the water, they would also condemn the sounds of their own echoes. What's that mean? They would condemn the sounds of their own echoes. Does that mean that they'd like shout insults and hear the echoes? I don't know. In this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna, who is the source of the Brahman effulgence for desiring to merge into that effulgence, who is the supreme personality of Godhead for devotees who have accepted eternal servitorship, and who for ordinary persons is but another ordinary child. The cowherd boys, having accumulated the results of pious activities for many lives, were able to associate in this way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can one attain their great fortune? Commentary. Verses 7 to 10. Let me just see if any. The cowherd boys blew bugles made of buffalo horns, chased the shadow birds, and pulled the tails of baby monkeys. They would climb the trees by grabbing the tails of the monkeys hanging from the branches. After imitating the funny faces of the monkeys, the boys would jump from tree branch to branch. They leapt after the frogs into water, which were created by the cascading waterfalls. Upon seeing their reflections on the water, they would laugh heartily. Raising their arms, the boys would shout out loudly in a playful mood. Then they would curse their echoes, saying, "Are! Who is that speaking? Who is that speaking?" Hearing a single syllable echo back, become angry. "What is this?" The echo would reply, reverberating, "Re, re," or whatever. What? And the boys would say, "Today you will die. Today you will die." In this way, they would curse again and again and never come to an end. Verse 11. After describing the playing of the cowherd boys, this verse shows the unique good fortune of the Vrajvasis as compared to others. There are three types of people in this world: karmis, jnanis, and bhaktas. And so that's those who are seeking enjoyment, and those who are seeking relief from suffering, and the devotees of the Lord. Everyone fits into one of these categories. The word satang indicates those jnanis who possess some trace of devotion. The inhabitants of Vraj used to play freely with Krishna, who is the source of the knowledge and happiness the jnanis seek in Brahman. One can understand from this that Krishna's body with which the Vrajvasis played contains the Brahman. The word satang, transcendentalists, cannot apply to those jnanis who think that Krishna is material. The phrase dasya gatana refers to all the genuine devotees besides the Vrajvasis who see Krishna as the Lord. The Vrajvasis were so fortunate that they directly played with Krishna, who is seen by these other devotees as their reverent Lord. The Vrajvasis joyfully sported with Krishna, who is perceived as an ordinary human by the materialistic sense enjoyers covered by the illusory potency of the Lord. The Gyanis have realization of Krishna, but they cannot play with him. The Dasya Bhaktas, the Lord's surrendered servants, worship Krishna in reverence, but they are not qualified to play with Krishna. The Karmis have no respect for Krishna, so they neither realize nor worship him, what to speak of playing with him. Although Krishna is made of complete bliss, he experienced intense ecstasy playing with the Vrajvasis in various pastimes of love. They too attained the pinnacle of joy in his association. Therefore, the Vrajvasis were more fortunate than all others. Of course, this is a material viewpoint. The Vrajvasis, Krishna's eternal associates who far surpass the and Dasya Bhaktas. The cause of the playing with Krishna is not material piety. Here, the word punya can only mean activities pleasing to Krishna, by which Krishna comes under the devotee's control. It does not mean material piety or heaps of good deeds. Verse 12. Oh, this verse 11 is the important verse. Let's just recite it so that we've recited this. Okay. Etang satang brahma sukanabhutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatena maya shritanam naradarakena sakam vijahruta punya punja. Verse 12. Yogis may undergo severe austerities and penances for this by practicing yam, niyam, asana, and pranayam, none of which are easily performed. Yet in due course of time, when these yogis attain perfection of controlling the mind, they will still be unable to taste even a particle of dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then can describe about the great of the inhabitants of Vrajbhumi, Vrindavan, with whom the Supreme Personality of God personally lived and who saw the Lord face to face? Commentary. What to speak of playing with Krishna? Even establishing a relationship with Krishna is very rare. That is the intent of this verse. The yogis cannot even attain one particle of dust of Krishna's feet, nor can the yogis attain even one particle of reflected light from the trees of Vrindavan. Padapa means tree and Angshu means particle. Those who fully concentrate their minds attain Krishna. Thus, it was stated earlier that Krishna is Sukapa, not easily attained. Swayamstita, being self-such, indicates that seeing Krishna does not depend even on the performance of sadhana. Oh, what great fortune! Or, oh, what a happy festival! Who can describe the good fortune or happiness of the who constantly see Krishna? Such fortune is unobtainable by the yogis. Though they concentrate their minds for lifetimes, they cannot even attain a particle of dust at Krishna's feet. Verse 13. Sorry, guys. My dear King Parikshit, there is a great demon named Aghāsura. There's a great demon named Aghāsura whose death was being awaited even by the demigods. The demigods drank nectar every day, but still they feared this great demon and awaited him. This demon could not tolerate the transcendental pleasure being enjoyed in the forest by the cowherds. Commentary. Seeing that the boys were relishing ever-increasing bliss by playing, and that they would not stop playing, and knowing that they would not take time out to eat, and that eating time had already passed, and seeing that it was also necessary to kill a demon, Krishna's Leela Shakti inspired the Aghāsura demon through the Supersoul and brought him near the boys. Aghāsura could not tolerate the fun the boys were having, the various sports they they played filled the boys with pleasure, but the demons experienced only suffering. The demigods who drink the celestial nectar were afraid of being killed by the demon, so they eagerly awaited his death. Yad could also refer to playing, and anta can mean in the heart. Then the meaning would be, Aghāsura cannot tolerate the gopas playing, which was meditated upon by the demigods, and which alone gave them the desire to maintain their lives, though they already drank nectar, amrita. Verse 14. Aghāsura, who had been sent by Kamsa, was the younger and Aghāsura. Therefore, when he came and saw Krishna at the head of all the coward boys, he thought, "This Krishna has killed my sister and brother, Putana and Bakasura. Therefore, in order to please them both, I shall kill this Krishna along with the cowherd boys." Verse 15. Aghāsura thought, "If somehow or other I can make Krishna and his associates serve as the last offering of sesame and water for the departed souls of my brother and sister, then the inhabitants of Rajbhumi, for whom these boys are the life and soul, will automatically die. If there is no life, there is no need for the body. Consequently, when their sons are dead, naturally, all the inhabitants of Raj will die." Commentary. Verses 14 to 15. Observing all the cowherd boys headed Krishna Mukhan, Aghāsura, the younger brother of Putana, and Bakasura, considered. And the second half of verse 14 and verse 15 are Aghasura's thoughts. "This has killed my older brother and sister, Putana, and my brother. On their behalf, therefore, I will kill Krishna as a pinda offering along with his followers. If Krishna and the other boys become the sacrificial offering, If the coward boys become the sacrificial offering to the pretas for my brother and sister, Nanda and the other inhabitants of Raj will automatically die. If life has left the body, need we worry any more about the bodies? Living entities live through their children. Therefore, if their beloved child Krishna dies, Nanda, Yashoda, and the rest of the Vrajvasis will automatically die without our having to kill them." Verse 16. After thus deciding that crooked Aghasura assumed assumes the form of a huge python, as thick as a big mountain and as long as 8 miles. Having assumed this wonderful python's body, he spread his mouth like a big cave in the mountains and lay down on the road, expecting to swallow Krishna and his associates. Commentary. Thinking in this way, Aghasura lay on the path in order to devour Krishna and his friends. He was 1 yojana, 8 miles in length, and as thick as a huge mountain. His mouth spread open like a cave. Verse 17. His lower lip rested on the surface of the earth, and his upper lip was touching the clouds in the sky. The border of his mouth resembled the sides of a big cave in a mountain, and the middle of his mouth was as dark as possible. His tongue resembled a broad traffic way. Breath was like a warm wind, and his eyes blazed like fire. Commentary. Aghasura's lower lip rested on the earth, and his upper lip touched the clouds. The borders of his mouth resembled the sides of a big mountain cave. The interior of the mountain was as dark as night, and his tongue resembled a wide road. His breath was like a burning fire, and his eyes blazed like fire. Verse 18. One second, just seeing everything's okay. Looks like it. Verse 18. Upon seeing this demon's wonderful form, which resembled a great python, the boys thought that it must be a beautiful scenic spot of Vrindavan. Thereafter, they imagined it to be similar to the mouth of a great... In other words, the boys, afraid, thought that it was a statue made in the shape of a great python for the enjoyment of their pastimes. Commentary. A few boys thought that Aghāsura was a big snake, so they started to run away upon seeing it. Other boys, however, thought that Aghāsura was simply a powerful scenic spot of Vrindavan. They comforted their fearful friends, saying, "Oh, fools, a snake can never be this big. It is just some statue fashioned by the Lord so that we can appreciate the splendor of Vrindavan even more." Krishna made it look like a huge snake with a big gaping mouth. This way, the cowherd boys thought the Lord's creation was something like the gaping mouth of a serpent made just for pastimes. Verse 19. The boy said, "Dear friends, is this creature dead, or is it actually a lion with its mouth spread wide just to swallow us all? Kindly clear up this doubt." Commentary. Some bowed to their elder friends to confirm their thoughts. Is this some type of immovable living entity? The word means a peak, indicating some large animal. Is it some resting tiger or other big animal waiting to devour us with its open mouth? Verse 20. Thereafter they decided, "Dear friends, this is only an animal sitting here to swallow us all." Its lower lip resembles a cloud reddened by the sunshine, and its lower lip resembles the reddish shadows of a cloud. Commentary. Agreeing with them, one boy said, "Its upper lip resembles a cloud reddened by the sunshine, and its lower lip appears like the reddish shadows of a cloud." Verse 21. On the left and right, the two depressions resembling mountain caves are the corners of its mouth, and the high mountain peaks are its teeth. Commentary. Look here on the left and right. The two depressions resembling mountain caves are the corners of its mouth, and pointing with his forefinger. The high mountain peaks are like a serpent's teeth. Verse 22. In length and breadth, the animal's tongue resembles a broad traffic way, and the inside of its mouth is very, very dark, like a cave in the mountain. Commentary. The animal's tongue, rasana, resembles a wide road. The inside of its mouth is very dark, like a mountain cave. Verse 23. The hot, fiery wind is the breath coming out of its mouth, which is giving off the bad smell of burning flesh because of all the dead bodies that he has eaten. The hot, fiery wind is the breath from his mouth, which is giving off the bad smell of burning flesh because of all the animals he's eaten. Commentary is the same as the translation. Exactly, word for word. That's funny. 24. Then the boy said, "How has this living creature come to swallow us? If he does so, he'll immediately be killed like Aghāsura without delay." They looked at the beautiful face of Krishna, the enemy of Aghāsura, and clapping their hands, they entered the mouth of the python. Haha, Krishna, save us now. Commentary. Some of the boys spoke with a little fear. If this creature is really a snake, he may swallow us if we enter his mouth. One boy replied to pacify them. If that is so, then in an instant, Krishna will kill him just as he vanquished Baka. Krishna is right here, so why should we worry? Saying this, the boy smiled and looked toward Krishna, who was standing at some distance away. confirmation, all the cowherd boys began to laugh loudly while speaking. "Hey, Sakas, let's find out what is in that mouth." Then they entered the demon's mouth out of boyish curiosity, clans to show their courage and fearlessness, or to diss the snake. The boys ran inside the snake's gaping mouth, and the calves ran after them with their tails raised. Verse 25. Let me look at comments. Hare Krishna Sharmaji. Verse 2. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is situated as Antaryami, the Supersoul, in the core of everyone's heart, heard the boys' tales about the artificial python. Unknown to them, it was actually Aghāsura, a demon who had a python. Krishna, knowing this, wanted to forbid his associates to enter the demon's mouth. Commentary. Hearing the talk about the snake as if it were something unreal, Krishna began to think, what is actually a snake's mouth? My friends think it is some wonderful scenery of Vrindavan. This is not just a snake, but the demon named Aghāsura. How did Krishna know this? Krishna knows everything because he's situated in everyone's heart, Akila Bhutaritsita. As the supreme, he is situated in everyone's heart as the super Antaryami. Krishna then decided to prevent his boyfriends from entering the snake's mouth. In the meantime, while Krishna was considering how to, all the cowherd boys entered the mouth of the demon. The demon, however, did not swallow them, for he was thinking of how his own relatives who had been killed by Krishna, and he is just waiting for Krishna to enter. Commentary. Sorry, I think I need to stand up. One second. Okay. Just as Krishna was deciding to stop them, the boys entered the serpent's mouth. 1 second. Okay. So the boys decided to enter the serpent's mouth, but the serpent did not swallow them. Why did he not swallow them? The demon was remembering the death of his brother and sister at the hands of the Lord, and so he was waiting for Krishna. One should not think that Krishna's Satya Sankalpa Shakti, the potency that fulfills every desire of the Lord, was thwarted because Krishna could not stop the boys from entering the serpent's mouth, though he wanted to. On the other hand, Krishna's devotees had a desire to be saved by Krishna, if by chance demon. Of the two desires, the desire of the devotee prevails, according to the principle that the Lord is controlled by his devotee. This was perfectly arranged by Krishna's ever-watchful Lila Shakti, which harmonizes all seeming contradictions. Verse 27. Krishna saw that all the cowherd boys, who do not know anyone but him as their Lord, had now gone out of his hands and were helpless, having entered like straws into the fire of the abdomen of Aghāsura, who is death personified. It was intolerable to be separated from his friends, the cowherd boys. Therefore, as if seeing that this had been arranged by his internal potency, Krishna was momentarily struck with wonder and fear of what to do. Commentary. Seeing that the boys were helplessly controlled, like jewels slip from one's hands, and that they were entering like straws into the fire of the snake's stomach, Krishna became filled with compassion. Krishna was astonished at the actions of his Lila Shakti, or of time, in making the cowherd boys enter the serpent's mouth. What was the cause of Krishna's astonishment? The Lord thought, it is possible for these cowherd boys to prarabdha karma. Besides, the supersoul does not give them the tendency for karma, because the supersoul is my expansion, and does not do anything unfavorable. Therefore, the Lila Shakti has made this seemingly unfavorable arrangement with a putni who abound in prem in a compassionate mood, karunaras, on seeing this unfortunate situation. It astonishes me how she controls me, the very form of all rasas and the king of all Lila Purushottam. Though Krishna's sorrow due to separation from his friends remained, it's somewhat reduced with the rise of astonishment. This is the meaning here. Verse 28. Now what was to be done? How could both the killing of this demon and the saving of the devotees be painlessly? Krishna, being unlimitedly potent, decided to wait for an intelligent means by which he could simultaneously save the boys and kill the demon. Then he entered the mouth of Aghāsura. Comment: what should I do in this dangerous situation? How kill the demon without harming the boys? After thinking in the way and finding a solution, Krishna entered the mouth of the serpent. Krishna always knows best what to do in the present and in the future, and he takes danger for his devotee and the life of a demon. Verse 29. When Krishna entered the mouth of Aghāsura, the demons hidden behind the clouds exclaimed, "Alas!" But the friends of Aghāsura, like Kamsa and other demons, were jubilant. Commentary. When Krishna entered the mouth of Aghāsura, the demons hiding behind the cloud, out of fear of Kamsa, exclaimed, "Alas, alas!" Though the demigods were aware of the Lord's powers, because they are also they shouted in anxiety for Krishna's safety. The intrinsic nature of bhakti is affection, and the nature of affection is to sometimes lose one's power of discrimination. Kamsa, his Rakshasa friends, Konapa means the eaters of corpses, my God, and the sons and brothers of Aghāsura rejoiced on hearing the news from their spies. It was through their spies. Verse 30. When the inconceivable Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna heard the demigods crying, "Alas, alas," from behind the clouds, he immediately enlarged himself within the demon's throat, just to save himself and the cowherd boys, his own associates, from the demon who wished to smash them. Commentary. Hearing the demigods' cries of dismay and the demons rejoicing, Krishna immediately enlarged himself within the demon's throat to save himself and the cowherd boys from being crushed in Aghasura's stomach. Krishna did this to reverse the sound of lamentation from the demigods and the demons' shouts of joy. And the pastimes of killing Shakatasura, Trinavarta, and getting tied to the grinding mortar, Krishna was a small child and manifested his majestic powers. Of Aghasura, Krishna expanded his form to show he did not lack the power to expand himself in size. In the Damodar Lila and other pastimes, the Lord maintained his form as a child because his devotees could taste the full sweetness within that form. Although they experienced astonishment by witnessing Krishna's prowess, it did not disturb their conception of the Lord as their child. But here, in the absence of his parents, who were relishing his sweetness, Krishna, being the Supreme Lord, adopted a more common method of just expelling the demon. Tatotikasya niruddha margino yurgirna drishter pramatastvitastata purnontarange pavano niruddho murdhidya vinirgato bahi. Oops, I'm not reading the Sanskrit, sorry. Habit. Then, because Krishna had increased the size of his body, the demon extended his own body to a very large size. Nonetheless, his breath, he suffocated, and his eyes rolled here and there and popped out. The demon's life air, however, could not pass through any outlet, and therefore it finally burst through the hole in the top of the demon's head. Commentary. The demon's throat blocked up, his out, and his life air, being trapped in his body with no outlet, finally burst through the Brahma Randra, the hole atop his head, and he attains perfection. Verse 32. When all the demon's life air had passed away through that hole in the top of his head, when all the demon's life had passed through the hole in the top of his head, Krishna glanced over the dead calves and cowherd boys and brought them back to life. Then Mukunda, who can give one liberation, came out of the demon's mouth and the calves. Commentary. The cowherd boys and calves, who had fainted due to separation from Krishna and from the heat of the serpent's belly, were brought back to consciousness by the nectar showered of Krishna's glance. What verse is this? 33. From the body of the gigantic python, a glaring effulgence came out, illuminating all directions, and stayed individually in the sky until Krishna came out from the corpse's mouth. Then, as all the demigods looked on, this effulgence entered into Krishna's body. Commentary. Śrīla Swami says that the effulgence coming out from the python's body became purified and attains the status of Shuddha Sattva. A demon's getting liberation is displayed here to instill faith in the people. Though the light of the soul, like the great light of the Paran, is normally invisible, Krishna arranged that the individual effulgence of the soul was visible to everyone to directly show the Lord, to direct the Lord's quality of granting. The Lord's quality of granting liberation even to. This is Sanatana Goswami's opinion and Vaishnav Toshani. According to later verses 38 and 39, Aghāsura attained Sarupya Mukti, a completely spiritual body exactly like that of Vishnu, and attained the Lord's abode. Therefore, the light which was visible was the light from Aghāsura's spiritual body, which he attained at that moment. Because his body was spiritual, it could not be seen with material eyes. Aghāsura's entering the Lord's body was just a show, as in the case of Shishupal and Dantavakra. Though Shishupal and Dantavakra attained Sarupya Mukti associates of the Lord, the form of Jai and Vijay, when they died, a light from their bodies entered the Lord. This is another opinion about the visibility of the light. This happens in the presence of the demigods, who are greatly astonished. With the use of salute, it can also mean that Aghāsura's soul entered Krishna, not caring for the demigods even though they were present. Verse 34. Thereafter, everyone being pleased, the demigods began to shower flowers from Nanda Kanan. The celestial dancing girls began to dance, and the Gandharvas, who were famous for singing, offered songs of prayer. The drummers began to beat their kettle drums, and the Brahmins offered Vedic hymns. In this way, both in the heavens and on earth, everyone began to perform his own duties, glorifying the Lord. Commentary. The demigods performed worship of Krishna, who creates himself. Suga refers to the Gandharvas who sing very beautifully. Vadyadharas means the celestial drummers. Vipras means Brahmins like Vasishtha Muni and others. Gana means everyone else like Garuda. Verse 35. When Lord Brahma heard the wonderful ceremony going on his planet, accompanied by music and songs and sounds of Jai, Jai, he immediately came down to see the function. Upon seeing so much glorification of Lord Krishna, he was completely astonished. No one but an infinity of festivals was produced by the wonderful prayers, melodious instrumental music, soft celestial songs, and Jai Jai. Even in the higher planetary systems like Janaloka, Maharloka, and Tapaloka, the festival of glorification of Krishna was going on. Brahma heard the singing. While the light of Aghāsura's soul was Vaikuntha, Brahma, Aja, being astonished at Krishna's glories, came invisibly to Vrindavan. Or it can mean, coming to Vrindavan and seeing Krishna's glory, Brahma was astonished. Verse 36. King Parikshit, when the python-shaped body of Aghāsura dried up into merely a big skin, it became a wonderful place for the inhabitants of Vrindavan to visit, and it maintained so for a long, long time. For commentary, the drying of the snake stayed a long time in Vrindavan, and became a cave in which the children used to sport and play. Translation for verse 27. This incident of Krishna's having himself and his associates, this incident of Krishna saving himself and his associates, and of giving deliverance to Aghāsura, who had assumed the form of a python, took place when Krishna was 5 years old. It was disclosed in Vrajabhumi after 1 year, as if it had taken place on that very day. Commentary. There was another astonishing event which you should hear about. Though Krishna liberated Aghāsura when he was 5 years old, the cowherd boys reported the incident when they were 6 years old, when they grew into Palgonda. It was disclosed in Vrajabhumi after 1 year, as if the incident had taken place on that very day. Verse 38. Krishna is the cause of all causes. Causes and effects of the material world, both higher and lower, are created by the Supreme Lord, the original controller. When Krishna appeared as the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, he did so by his mercy. Consequently, for him to exhibit his unlimited opulence was not at all wonderful. Indeed, he showed such great mercy that even Aghāsura, the most sinful miscreant, was elevated to being one of his associates and achieving Sarupya Mukti, which is actually impossible for materially persons to attain. Commentary. Krishna's form as a human child is his Sarup. For the word Maya means Sarup in the Shrutis. Krishna is the cause of all causes by his own free will, and is the supreme form among all the expansions of expansions. Nothing is impossible. Therefore, it is not remarkable that Aghāsura was purified of all touching Krishna, or Aghāsura was purified of his bad odor by Krishna's touch. The second meaning could be taken because Putana's body was also freed of its bad odor in Krishna. This must have happened because later Krishna and his friends used Aghāsura's dead body as a playground. Aghāsura also attains a body exactly resembling that of Narayan, which is very rare for a demon. Sayuja Mukti is rare for the demons, and Sarupya Mukti is rarer still, as this is generally reserved for the devotees. Verse 39. Even only once, or even by force, one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of God into one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghāsura. What then is to be said of those whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears in an incarnation? Are those who think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed. Commentary. This verse speaks of the cause of Aghāsura's gaining Sarupya Mukti. It is not such an amazing accomplishment for Krishna, whose form should be meditated on, who awarded the supreme destination to King Katavanga and others, who is directly in an eternal body, whose direct perception brings the grace and destroys Maya, who is the Avatari, the Parama, Parama, and who entered the demon son. However, in the case of King Katavanga and others, The cause of their attaining the Lord was devotion. And the Srimad Bhagavatam 11:14-21, Krishna says, Bhakteham ekaya grahya. Only by devotion can I be attained. In Aghāsura's case, however, the absence of devotion did not act as a deterrent in attaining the Lord. Though devotion is indeed the general rule, it applies in other cases as well. Krishna. When Krishna appears, anyone can attain his transcendental abode simply by contact, because of the extra surge of his perfect Kripa Shakti at that time. That is why it is said, one who approaches me in a mood of either lust, anger, fear, affection, oneness, friendship, or devotion will surely attain love for me that is of that nature. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-15. Do not think that this is astonishing for Krishna, the master of yoga. He gives liberation not only to humans, but also to non-moving entities. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-16. Krishna awarding liberation to his enemies is a remarkable quality in his completeness. Krishna is suiting to the mood of the person approaching him. From the statements that Aghāsura's body became the playgrounds for the boys and for many days, it should be understood that the demon's attitude had been transformed into a favorable attitude. Aghāsura had attained Sarupya Mukti in Vrindavan, but he did not attain a form in Vrindavan. In Vaikuntha. I don't know why I said Vrindavan. So he attained Sarupya Mukti in Vaikuntha, but he did not attain a form in Vrindavan because of his lack of bhakti. Okay, how many more verses? 2 more verses, I think. Right? 3. Oh my God. 4 verses. Verse 40. Sutta Goswami said, let me just comment. Okay. Sri Sutta Goswami said, saints, the childhood pastimes of Sri Krishna are very wonderful. Maharaj Parikshit, after about those pastimes of Krishna, who had saved him in the womb of his mother, became steady in his mind and again inquired from Shukadeva Goswami to hear about those pious activities. Commentary. Maharaj Parikshit, who is protected by Krishna, heard the wonderful pastimes of he who gives himself to his devotees. Parikshit followed his heart on Krishna's pastimes and asked some more questions to Shukadeva. Verse 41. Maharaj Parikshit inquired, "O great sage, how could things done in the past have been described as being done at the present? Lord Shri Krishna performed this pastime of killing Aghāsura in Kumara age. How then, during his Poganda age, could the boys have described this incident as happened recently?" Commentary. Maharaj Parikshit inquired, how could things done in the past be described as being done in the past? How could Krishna make the cowherd boys describe the pastimes which happened when they were in their Kumar age of 5 years, as if they happened recently? Verse 42. O greatest yogi, my spiritual master, kindly describe why this happened. I am very much curious to know about it. I think that it was nothing but another illusion due to Krishna. Commentary. Maya here refers to the Lord's internal potency, or Shakti, which expertly makes unexpected things happen. Because the verse calls the Lord's Maya, Harer Maya, it cannot mean anything else except Yoga Maya. Only this potency of Krishna can put his eternal associates into illusion. Verse 43. O my Lord, my spiritual master, although we are the lowest of Kshatriyas, we are glorified and benefited because we have the opportunity of always hearing from you the nectar of the pious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Commentary. Maharaj Parikshit says, Spiritual Master, this statement implies, I am your disciple, and because of the rule that the Guru must teach topics to the devoted student, please tell me what I should be told. Parikshit's devotion is indicated by his own efforts through the words, I drink the nectar. verse 44. And I think Sutta Goswami said, O Shaunak, greatest of the saints and devotees, when Maharaj Parikshit Shukadeva Goswami in this way, Shukadeva Goswami, immediately remembering the subject matter about Krishna within the core of his heart, externally lost contact with the actions of his senses. Thereafter, with great difficulty, he revived his external sensory perception and began to speak to Parikshit Maharaj about Krishna Katha. Commentary. Shukadeva gained external consciousness with great effort, loud chanting of the Lord's name by Narad, Vyas, and others who were in attendance. By the phrase Bhagavata Uttama Uttama, greatest of all saintly persons, that refers to Shaunak. Thus ends the commentary on the 12th chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam for the pleasure of the devotees in accordance with the previous acharyas. So tomorrow we will be Srila Prabhupada's purport of the Brahma Vimohan Lila, Brahma stealing the boys and calves. Oh, Krishna. Sorry, today I was falling asleep super hardcore. I feel kind of like I'm in a dream right now. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai, Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai, Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Nitila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shri Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Nitila Pravishta Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki jai, Nitila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sadhu Sai Prabhu ki jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrit Nama Chai Shri Lahairas Ṭhākura ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki jai, Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai, Shri Thani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai, Aghāsura's disappearance day ki jai, Shri Krishna Kanaya ki jai, Shri Davbaya ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopikan ki jai, Shri Nanda Bhavaya ki jai, Shri Vrishabhanu Nandini Shrimati Radha Ṭhākurani ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Chaturmasa Vrat ki jai, Vrat Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyaivacha Patitanamebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. That's what Manjari Didi saying. Don't need to verily ascertain this association. We listen to our Guru Parampara. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains these associations. Their representations doesn't make them less real. Yogamaya Devi is perfectly capable of arranging real events that serve as reference. Yes, very good point. All right, Dandavat Pranams, everybody. Thank you for letting me go overtime and sitting through all that, my sleeping, and yeah, thank you so much for your patience with me, as always. I'm going to take a little nap now. All right, see you tomorrow. Hey,